Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wealth of Edutainment. This is the Great Debaters Contest, Nyeri region, and I am your host, Austin Nyombo.
And I am Mariam Bishar. Welcome to the show. We have Kiriti Secondary going versus Wahundura Boys on whether poor foreign policies are what is impoverishing Africa. We'll have them take the stage now. Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Africans, I salute you all. Did you know that Africa is the second largest continent in the world? Did you also know that Africa is the most populous continent in the world? Therefore, we expect Africa to be the most developed continent in the world, but this is not the case. Why? This is because of these poor African policies that the countries in Africa has engaged themselves in. So allow me, Brent Legis Minor, Kiriti Secondary School, to take you through this lesson as I strongly propose the motion, poor African policies have impoverished African countries. First, we have to understand what is a policy. A policy is a course or principle of action adopted or proposed by a government, business, party, or individuals. And what are these foreign policies? Foreign policies consist of self-interest strategies chosen by the state to safeguard its national interest and achieve goals within its international relations. The judges, whether you want it, like it, or not, you have neighbors. In this case, you might try to argue that neighbors are always meant to help us, but no. Some neighbors are there to get what good you have, to benefit from it, and then leave you poor and stranded. They are there to identify the weaknesses that you have. They take the advantages on the weaknesses, and they get what you have, use them, and then they will leave you poor without anything else to rely on. I rest my case. Thank you.
Okay, opposition, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statements.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Moses Mwangi from Wahundura High School, and I'll be opposing the motion that says poor foreign policies that are impoverishing Africa. First of all, what are these foreign policies? It is the government's strategy in dealing with other nations. And on my first point, we are going to check on the education. As we can see in our African state, we get scholarships to go to the foreign countries so that we may get to learn more. As for example, recently our Form 4 leavers were taken to China so that they may learn how to manage the new trains that we're going to set up, that we're going to take from Nairobi to Mombasa. They'll be taking 4.5 hours. And they still help us in the sector of security. You find that in African states, we do not have the enough resources, so that we may be able to build ourselves other type of machines. For example, in Nigeria, it is helped by USA to fight the terrorism between them and Boko Haram. In Kenya, we are helped by the USA with terrorism from Somalia. And on the economic front, the world has opened to South Africa trade, while industrial trade and financial involvement in the South African is making a substantial contribution to the reconstruction of the economy. The foreign policies between two countries will help between, for example, China and Kenya. It leads to trade credits and more development assistance. And for the point on healthcare, first we see in the USA, we had the Obamacare. Obamacare helps Africans. They deliver or they support us by giving us medicine or the drugs. Health is vital in many countries' development. Without a healthy community or without healthy people, the industries in the country will have problems at stake. For example, in Botswana, it is the country with the highest prevalent rates of HIV/AIDS. And the former US First Lady, Laura Bush, initiated 8 programs to help the children suffering from HIV and AIDS. And the UN World Health Organization is playing a major role in supporting the African states to fight diseases, initiating medical camps for assistance. Even our neighboring country, Tanzania itself, the prevalent rate in HIV and AIDS, it has reduced from 60% to 25%. Isn't this helping us as an African state?
Okay, we'll hear rebuttals now. Proposition, you have 3 minutes.
Call a spade and not a big spoon. I salute the House at large. I, Pascal Nomboy from Kiriti Secondary School, stand before you this afternoon to strongly propose the motion that goes by poor foreign policies are impoverishing Africa. My first point will be on economic policies, and I'm going to talk about Kenya mostly. I'll talk about the borrowing policies. In Kenya, we tend to borrow money a lot. For example, we have the golden bag scandal. The golden bag scandal touched Kenyan a lot because it even touched on the religious things. I remember the Hindu pastor, Kamlesh Patni. He is a pastor, and yet he is involved in such scandals just because we decided to borrow instead of use our resources that we have as Kenyan to develop. Then I'll talk about imbalance of trade. In Kenya, we have a lot of imbalance of trade. In Kenya, we tend to import more than sell. And you see, when we import, it reduces the money circulation in our country. Because if we had decided to export more, it could have been better. We decide to export things like clothes, and yet we have the textiles companies that we could have used. Recently, we had the case of the sugar, the Uganda bringing sugar in Kenya, and yet we have a lot of sugar in Kenya. But instead of using the sugar that we have, we imported sugar from Uganda, and it caused a lot of problems later. And also, I'll pose a question to the audience. Do you realize how much money will be taken from your salaries or your children's salary so as to pay for the borrowed money that you are taking from other countries?
Thank you. We'll listen to the opposition now. You have 3 minutes.
Standing before you is Roy James Gedenji from Wahundura High School. Family, standing here to oppose the motion that says foreign policies are impoverishing Africa. The first thing I would like to suggest is, I would like to object a point taken by my opponent here and ask him, how can you say that the neighbors helped us and left us in poverty? Really? Our neighbors in this case involve the neighboring continents like Asia, United States of America, and we have seen recently they assist us with food and drought-resistant crops when we have famine and drought-stricken seasons. To my point, where I would echo my friend here, it's about education. Education, the foreign policies have made it clear that they are going to sponsor the intelligent Africans who, in this case, are financially unstable. Once they go to the United States and the Asian and the foreign countries, most likely, majority of them come back with new ideas which help in the development and evolution in Africa. Another point is security. Security has the foreign policies which have been put up in our borders have made it to the point that our borders are protected, no more drug trafficking occurs. To my other point is about health. We have seen that in case of natural calamities in Africa and its states, most of these organizations are sent to aid and they help Africans. That is example, the US AIDS. In South Africa, it has helped the HIV patients with drugs and reduced the cost of which they are sold so that in the future they may continue with their economic evolution. Trade. In the recent years, we have seen Kenya and United States make contracts about the bilateral talks. These are yet to be put into practice, but mostly we expect that the Kenya and United States relationship are going to bring something better. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the audience. The proposers have been asked to cite their sources on matters of trade policies between Kenya and, say, Uganda on matters such as importation of sugar. And of course, the opposition have been asked, should we not develop our own unique policies to deal with our issues as opposed to always depending on the West? We'll have the third proposer take the stage. You have 3 minutes.
I'm a man of great passion. Indeed, great passion for children. Indeed, great passion for children. And that is why I feel so much hurt, that coming future, my children will have to pay for a burden for money that they never used. And that is why I, Godfrey Kiriti, Kiriti Secondary School, start strongly proposing on the motion that goes by. Poor foreign policies are impoverishing Africa. And on to my first point. Focusing on the ICC, a bold policy which was aimed at creating peace in Africa. But to my utter disgust, it indeed created tension to the number of Kenyans who had access to information on whatever is going on in the country. That is the issue of the ICC. And you're busy telling me that poor foreign policies are beneficial to Africa? That I disagree. Fellow opponents, you said about the Kenya-China ties. What about the Kenya-China ties? Whereas China is trading when China is trading with Kenya, it doesn't mean that Kenya will be able, that is economically, politically, or socially. All about this. China imports goods into Kenya. Rather, Kenya exports goods into China or even other countries. And what about this? Does import or export gain money? I disagree with you. What about it? While China is trading in Kenya, importing goods from China, the Chinese economy is going ahead, accelerating, whereas the little import-export that we have, I wonder whether our economy can match that of China that exports goods in Kenya. That imports goods in Kenya, rather we export goods in other countries, that is, including China. In the present day Kenya, we are using a system of a devolved government. A devolved government in which embezzlement of funds is evident. What about this? Prices created for governors, senators, MCAs, unlike before where we had only MPs, are leading to cartels fighting their way in to embezzle funds.
Thank you very much. Opposition, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
I would first like to correct my opponent here. It's not import into, but it's import from. Second, brother man from Chinga, you are in the spirit because I expected that question. A man cannot build a house on a weak foundation. So we need this money that these people are offering to us. The foreign policies are not here to distract us. We cannot stand on our own. They are the ones who colonized us. They are the ones who gave us a basis for development. We did not know development. If you want to go back to the days of walking semi-nude and walking from Mombasa to Nairobi, it's okay. But like when my opponent had said about China, yes, SGR was initiated by China. The Thika Road, we were supported by China at 5%. If we were not supported by them, the road will not be there. Aren't you all benefiting from that road? First let me educate you on something. There's something we call ecotourism. Ecotourism is something that was introduced in the tourism industry, whereby people visit an area, the tourists, and they develop it and maintain it. From 2011, Kenya has gained $1.5 million from this, money that is used to develop this nation. Something else we call structural adjustment programs. That's where we get loans from World Bank and IMF that support us. And let me give you some data. As a result of the SAPs, in short form, Sub-Saharan Africa, from 1999 to date, has grown from 78.1% to 95.6% in dollar terms, meaning that we are advancing. So, if you do not agree with the way that we are taking, with the direction that we are taking of getting support from these people, then stay with your opinions, because we want to move forward. We need to come together as a world. We need to globalize. And advantages of globalization, they open the borders between the nations. Infusion of foreign capital and technology in Africa has greatly assisted us. Let me support my brother on the issue of education. There's something we call DAAD, an exchange program from Germany. And it takes students from Kenya and takes them to Germany, where they're educated on engineering courses, and they come back and develop this nation. My mom is a product of DAAD. So I know. I am Yedhenji Wawamboi, Wahundura High School. God bless you.
Okay, we'll have closing statements. Proposers, you have 1 minute.
And to my able opponents here, a friend is always after you because he or she has seen something good in you that he's after. To emphasize on these economic policies that have led to impoverished African countries, take this to be Africa. Take it to be Africa. And then the continents come in the name of trying to improve or use the African natural resources to improve Africa. Here is gold, here is petroleum from Africa, out of Africa. Here's gold from Africa, out of Africa. Here's oil, out of Africa. Here's copper, out of Africa. What am I left with? Poor Africa. So, please join me and help me to propose this motion. Thank you.
Opposition, you also have 1 minute.
Thank you. And I would like to say, the first question, what kind of a man can stand alone? We all need due support. Because what do we get from the foreign affairs? We get education. Everybody here wants to own something, like a $5 million house. Everybody here wants to drive a Lamborghini. But do we have the resources here in Africa? No. We need the assistance from the foreign countries. And where do we get this dream that we want to live in? We get it from where everybody says, I want to live an American dream. And I want to object my fellow member by where he's saying that they're taking things from Africa. Why are they taking things from Africa? Because they see greatness in us. We are meant for greatness. So we cannot do this all on our own because we need the aid from these foreign countries. So if you're wise enough, join us and oppose this motion that says poor foreign policies are impoverishing Africa. Thank you.
To Kiriti, and starting with minor. Well, in your introduction, you sounded a bit confusing. I don't know whether I got it right, but I thought I heard you say that Africa is the most populous continent. I don't know what you mean by that, populous. You need to get that. Is it true? Then you did a lot of reading again, fairly on definitions. Pascaline, there was some bit of hesitations that might have affected your fluency. One might, when you do that, one might think that you are not so sure of what you wanted to say. So you may not have a command of a topic, and you are also repetitive. You did repeat yourself a number of times. Nderito, Godfrey, yeah, you needed to be natural in your language. I thought that you are trying to bring out what you really cannot. Otherwise, it was a good motion. All the best.
From Wahundura, Moses, you are the first speaker. At first, you are a bit fidgety on stage, but you are able to gather yourself up quickly, which was good. And you are also quite confident in your closing remarks. Roy James, your utilization of time, you spent very little time on stage, which of course affected the quality of the points that you had to deliver. Victor, I found you a bit convincing in your presentation. You are a stronger mate to the three of you, and I think you upheld the game for the team. All the best to the two teams.
Kiriti Secondary School, you garnered 63%. Please give them a round of applause. Your opponents, Wahundura High School, had 65%, making them the winners of this debate.
Congratulations to the two teams on stage. We'd like to thank you, our studio audience, for being active, and our viewers back home for keeping it locked on KBC Channel 1. And please, we urge you to continue with the conversation on social media, #GDC for SDGs. And thank you to our sponsors, Safaricom Blaze. I've been Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. Thank you for watching.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.